The active phase of the war in eastern Ukraine continues. The Russian army is clearly hastening to achieve some success before Ukraine receives assistance from the West and still experiences shortages practically in everything on the front, in equipment, ammunition and manpower. Despite the severity of the situation, significant success in the Russian army are not observed. And this is again the backdrop of huge losses. Photos and videos of burned columns and fields covered with the bodies of Russian soldiers have long ceased to surprise anyone. Also, Ukraine destroyed Russia's strategic bomber Tu-22M3 during an attempt to bomb Ukraine. Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene proposes to compel all members of Congress who vote for the law on assistance to Ukraine to enlist in the armed forces of Ukraine. I would suggest discussing this and other news related to the Russian-Ukrainian war further in more details. Hey, my name is Alex and this is a quick update on the Russian-Ukrainian war from the perspective of someone living within it. So, let's start with the situation on the front. In the direction of Liman, the enemy with the support of armored vehicles continues attempt to improve their tactical positions east of Terne and Yampolivka. Some posts in pro-Russian chats regarding this direction are interesting. They stated that the Ukrainian armed forces entered the gray zone to positions east of Yampolivka, stayed there for a day and calmly returned. The Russians are puzzled. Additionally, in this area, the Ukrainian armed forces have defeated an enemy assault group, the joint effort of the 60th and 33rd Mechanized Brigades, as well as the 12th Separate Purpose Brigade Azov, in repelling the enemy's mechanized assault in the direction of the settlement of Terne, resulted in the destruction of 2 tanks and 1 BMP as captured on a video. On the Chasivyar direction, battles continue on the western and northwestern outskirts of Bogdanivka and in the northern part of the Stupki-Golubovsky 2nd Reserve. On the Avdiivka direction, the enemy has occupied the eastern part of the village of Novokalinove and advanced up to 2.5 kilometers wide and 1.9 kilometers deep. North of the Zarya Garden community, Russian troops have taken 2 strips of forest up to 1.5 kilometers wide and 700 meters deep. Active combat continues on the eastern outskirts of Ocheretino, in the area of the Ocheretino-Tyaglova substation. On video, more than 50 Russian soldiers are seen fleeing from this substation. In fact, FPV drones have halted the assault action that were being prepared for storming private developments in the western direction. Part of the enemy reconnaissance group occupied houses in Ocheretino, while assault groups gathered in the substation building for further relocation to private development and the assault on the settlement near the station. Those who didn't flee were subsequently shelled by artillery. As of now, the orcs have left the territory of the substation and are preparing for a new wave of attacks. Excellent work by Ukrainian aerial reconnaissance and artillery. In the area of Berdychi, Semeniuka and south of Umansky, the high pace of combat continues, without significant changes. On the Kurakhove direction, battles are ongoing in the southern part of the city of Krasnogorivka, without significant changes. On the Vuhledar direction, the 72nd Separate Mechanized Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces has defeated a storming armored group of Russian troops, destroying 2 tanks and 3 MTLB, approximately in the location marked on the map. Robotyne direction. Ukrainian soldiers continue to hold what was once village of Robotyne. From time to time the Russians attempt assault actions here, but it ends the same way: burned tanks, armored vehicles and killed Russian soldiers. And then such chats appear among the Russians, where they try to find the information about their deceased or missing relatives. Russia once again carried out missile and drone strike on Ukraine. Russia used a total of 36 aerial attack assets, comprising 22 rockets of various types and 14 strike drones. Ukrainian air defense system successfully destroyed 29 of these aerial targets. This statistic notably includes the first down Tu-22M3 strategic bomber, a carrier of anti-ship missile X-22. Of course, it's still Soviet, with up to 500 units built, slightly over 300 serially produced, but already around 70 units lost, all due to technical malfunctions. Hence, one of its two names, Man-Eater. Pilots themselves named it due to the high number of losses suffering by those same pilots. Many improvements were made in the modernization of the Tu-MT2M, and in the latest M3 version almost everything was redesigned. X-22 missile, it is also old Soviet junk, designed to hit the US aircraft carriers with terrible accuracy but hypersonic speed and quite a powerful charge. Therefore, shooting down such missiles is very difficult. For the first time, the two X-22 cruise missiles out of 6 launched were shot down, which is really a great success for Ukrainian air defense. And let's be honest, American Patriot SAM system with PAC-3 upgrade. Another interesting point is the fact that in this attack 6 Russian Tu-95MS aircraft took part, which are carrier of X-101 missiles. Their takeoff was recorded from the Olenia airfield, and all these 6 aircraft managed to launch only 2 X-101 missiles, when one such bomber can carry up to 16 missiles under its wings and another 6 in the drum in its cargo compartment. So 6 aircraft could have launched about 120 missiles, but only 2 reached Ukraine. How many they launched is unknown. Therefore, there are various options here, from attempting to intimidate with a powerful salvo to ordinary malfunction in missiles and aircraft. The defense intelligence of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine showed how they shut down a Russian Tu-22M3 bomber, which launched missiles at Ukraine. The Tu-22 aircraft was shot down at a distance of about 300 kilometers from the Ukraine, using the same means that previously hit a Russian long-range radar detection and control aircraft A-50. As a result of the hit, the bomber was able to fly to the Stavropol region, where it crashed. They set in ambush for a week. We waited for it to reach the necessary milestone, commented the head of the defense intelligence, Kirill Budanov, in an interview with the BBC. Unfortunately, some of the missiles that reached their targets hit civilian objects. For example, a missile hit a residential house in the Dnipropetrovsk region. According to preliminary information, 7 people were killed, including 2 children. Another 34 people were injured, including 1 child. It is worth reminding once again that these are Russians hitting residential buildings with missiles that were intended for strikes on aircraft carriers. And this is just one case among many in a single day. After all, they bomb all regions without stopping, destroying homes and properties every day. And even when it comes to targeting enterprises or even military installations, who gave them the right to bomb, whether it is a factory or a military unit? As you probably know, Ukraine is quite an agrarian country, where the practice of growing their own vegetables is widespread in rural areas. There is a popular joke among Ukrainian farmers that you only need to stick anything into this soil and it will definitely grow. And here is an example of how people plant gardens in Казачья Лопань, Kherson region, which borders Russia.
Казачья Лопань сегодня... ложись!
Ukraine is in dire need of air defense systems, both stationary and modern aircraft like F-16. It seems that things have started to shift from that point here, and the West is finally convinced that Ukraine won't give up and will have to be provided with these means. Belgian Prime Minister Alexander De Croo announced that the first F-16s, along with the trained crews, could arrive in Ukraine by early summer, so we have about months, maximum 2, to wait. Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte, upon arrival at the EU Leaders Summit, stated, "We know that a large number of countries have a stockpile of Patriot systems. We can buy them, we can deliver them to Ukraine, we have the money. This is extremely important." At the same time, NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg, following the Ukraine-NATO Council meeting, announced that NATO is ready to provide Ukraine with more air defense systems very soon, and that assistance for Ukraine is already on the way. Also, he noted that assistance to Ukraine is not a charity, but an investment in our security. At the same time, Chancellor of Germany Olaf Scholz and EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs Joseph Borrell also made statements regarding the search for Patriot systems. It is obvious that if so many influential politicians are discussing the issue, air defense system for Ukraine will be provided. And of course, the biggest intrigue is the vote on aid packages, particularly for Ukraine, by the US Congress. The final outcome of this war in many respects depends on today's vote, April 20th, and whether they choose to support Ukraine or not. Perhaps the result is already known at the time of the video release. So far, 137 amendments have been proposed to the bill on aid to Ukraine. All but 2 are from Republicans. Many amendments aim to cancel budget support to Kyiv, prohibit forgiving Ukraine's debt, and so on. But there are some proposals that stand out. By Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. She has submitted the most amendments so far. Here are some of them. Oblige all members of Congress who voted for this bill to join ranks of the armed forces of Ukraine. Yeah, she definitely has a sense of humor. Prohibit fundings until Ukraine closes all biolabs. Prohibit fundings until Ukraine bans abortions, and so on. All these biolabs in Ukraine, NATO troops, fascism, religious persecutions, it is all strands from the Kremlin playbook. Take a sniff. You smell that? I can smell the dirty money from the Kremlin through the monitor. Meanwhile, she was trolled by her Democratic colleague, Congressman Jared Moskowitz, who proposed 2 amendments, according to which Marjorie should be given the title of Putin's special ambassador to the United States Congress, and also suggested renaming her office in honor to Neville Chamberlain. Later, in the response to a CNN journalist's question, what's going on with the Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jared Moskowitz replied, "There aren't enough psychiatrists in the world to explain what's happening with her." He later also posted a satirical post saying that for Greene we have used all the polyjuice potion. Later on, the US Congress took the first step towards providing aid to Ukraine. The lower house of the US Parliament supported the introduction of 4 bills on international aid to Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan for consideration at Friday's meeting. The rule in support of considering the bills was approved by 316 members of the House of Representatives, with 94 against and 21 abstentions. In particular, 151 Republicans members voted in favor and 51 against, with 12 abstentions. From the Democratic Party, 165 voted in favor, 39 against, and 9 abstained. On Saturday, the consideration of 7 amendments to the bill is expected, 4 of which are to the bill on aid to Ukraine, and a vote on their adoption, after which they will be sent to the upper house of the United States Parliament, the Senate. Well, let's cross our fingers and hope. And God bless America. And that wraps up today's video. If you found this information helpful or somehow insightful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye!